Gravel crunched under the tires as I parked outside the familiar Pinjarra office that evening. 3 days had passed since that night at the cinema. Dan's morning call had sounded studiedly casual. "Drop by when you're free. Dug up something about our contracts." Dan's office smelled of fresh coffee. He sat at his computer, his face lit by the monitor's blue glow. "Mate, you won't believe this," he said, pushing aside a stack of papers to clear space. "Coffee?" I sank into the cracked leather chair opposite. "Nah, ta. I'm a morning coffee person. Check this out." Dan turned the screen. It showed a late 1980s map of Mandurah with an area highlighted near what's now the Forum Shopping Centre. Alter Group's warehouse complex was located here until '93. His fingers switched tabs. A yellowed scan from the November 1993 Mandurah Mail appeared. A report on the mall's construction. "Your old man, Sam. Funny that, eh?" The photo showed engineers by a freshly poured foundation. Among them stood my young father in his trademark flannel shirt, holding some device with the caption, "White AC, Soils Technician, Alter Group Pitai Litid." Dan clicked the mouse. "Was balancing the books yesterday and stumbled on this." He opened a file. A contract appeared between Mandurah Forum and Dan's company, D&L Earth Moving. "I supply them with soil mulch, but that's not important, look here." Dan opened a payment invoice from April 17th, where alongside Mandurah Forum, Alter Group Pitai Ltd was listed as a subcontractor for specialty soils. "Here's the kicker." Dan pulled up the ASIC registry showing clearly, "Alter Group liquidated 12/03/2001. A dead company can't sign contracts, can it? And that's not all." He opened Google Maps with a marked abandoned warehouse in Mandurah's industrial zone. "Paperwork says their office should be here, their official address. But in reality..." He pulled out his phone. "Made a special detour today to check. Here's what's actually there." The phone screen showed a photo, a rusted Warehouse Number 7 sign with faded lettering. "Last inventory, 05/2001. No people, no vehicles, just wind-blowing trash across the vacant lot." "Well, Sam." Dan leaned back in his chair, hands behind his head. "What do you make of that?" Well, getting more interesting by the minute," I said, reclining in my chair. "I knew Dad used to work in geosurveying, but never knew where exactly. Speaking of which, my sister Susan's actually studying geology now. Dad started his own firm about 20 years ago. We'll need to look into that." "You done for today? Fancy a beer?" Just as we were about to leave, the phone rang. "Michael." "Sam, evening mate, how's things? Got some news about the map. You free? Fancy a pint?" "Hey Michael, Dan and I were just heading to the pub. We're in Pinjarra now, should be in Mandurah in 2025. You know us, we fly through traffic. Let's meet at Murphy's Irish Pub then, see you there." Dan and I split up to our cars. The rain had just stopped as we rolled into Mandurah. 17 minutes, that's exactly how long it took us to drive from Pinjarra. As Alter card holders' traffic lights obediently switched to green the moment our cars approached an intersection. We parked outside Murphy's Irish Pub. The smell of fried onions and beer wafted from the bar. Inside, the place was packed, typical for our town on a Saturday night. "Hey Sam, Dan." Michael waved at us from a corner booth. We squeezed through the crowd of tables. "G'day mate. Cracked the code on that map yet?" I asked. "Think I've got part of it figured out. Sit down. Wait till you see this." He whistled low, shaking our hands. "Beers first," Dan said, and we headed to the bar. We settled at a small table. "All right, hit us with it." I took a sip of the cold, frothy brew. "Shot an ad for a gym on Reserve Drive today." He pulled out his phone. "Look." The screen showed a modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows and a sign, Revo Fitness Mandurah. "Yeah, know that one," I said. Dan nodded. "Now check this." Michael swiped up. Same angle, but instead of the gym stood a futuristic structure of blue glass. Its walls shimmered like liquid metal, and a hologram floated above the entrance. Alter Bioenhancement Center. "Bloody hell. Your map lets you see Alter World buildings?" Dan muttered. "Yep," Michael grinned, "but that's not all it does." The next photo showed two people by the entrance, a man in a faded red shirt. His arms hung absurdly low, like a gorilla's. Next to him stood a woman in a dingy white tracksuit, her appearance downright unsettling. Barely any neck, with bulging, close-set eyes that made her resemble some kind of bird of prey. Jesus Christ. Dan made a face and downed half his beer in one go. Wait, there's more. Michael scrolled through his phone gallery with a grin. He enlarged another photo. 2 figures in the crowd were outlined in red. A girl in yoga pants and a sports bra, the number 2 hovering above her. A jacked guy in a tee and shorts, labeled 4. We exchanged looks. This does what I think it does, I asked. Sure does. Tested it on myself, I'm a 3, Michael said, tapping his temple. Scan me. Michael pointed his phone at me. Doesn't even need a photo. Works live, like a damn airport scanner. Didn't notice earlier when shooting proper footage, only saw these tags back at the office. Dan aimed his phone at us. Mine's not picking it up. Pity. Could have been useful. So we can ID card carriers now. But who the hell are these people? Michael flipped to more shots. A cafe terrace where a woman in shades had a yellow question mark icon over her head. A park, the boardwalk, the mall, yellow question mark tags kept popping up everywhere. They're all over the damn place. He panned across the bar. 2 more yellow question mark figures lit up in the crowd. We all whistled in unison. Who are they? Dan wondered aloud. Future card holders, or those who refused to get a card? Maybe people who saw the newspaper ad but never showed up. Interesting. Yeah, guys. Seems like the world's changed already, Mike said, drumming his fingers on the phone case. Something's happening. Question is, for how long, and where's it all leading? Reckon we've stepped in it proper this time. But at least we've got night vision goggles for all this weird shit now. So what's next? We briefed him on Dan's discovery. Mike listened intently, occasionally asking for details. Sam, this is way too specific to be coincidence. Your old man was some super gardener in that film. And now it turns out he was a soil tech for Alter Group back in the day? He turned to Dan. You're saying they liquidated in 2001 but still have an active address, and the company's somehow still making contracts today? Dan and I nodded in confirmation. Right. We need to check everything then. Tomorrow we hit that warehouse in the industrial zone, see what the lens shows us. Mike looked at me. Sam, you got any photos of your dad? Sure do, I'll bring them tomorrow, I replied. We should also check out that fitness center, see what's up with that new location. All right, lads, game on, Mike declared as we raised our glasses. The next day, around 10 a.m., Dan picked me up and we headed to Mike's place. He was already waiting outside, camera around his neck, eyes sparkling with excitement like a kid at the zoo. We turned off Mandurah Road onto the potholed track, leading to the industrial zone near the old salt works. The car rolled to a stop before a faded sign. Warehouse number 7, last inventory, 05-2001. Before us stretched a wasteland littered with broken glass and thorny bushes. 100 meters away stood a half-collapsed building nearly swallowed by overgrowth. We pulled up close and stepped out. A rusted padlock dangled from a warped door. Mike immediately raised his camera. A click and the ruins on the screen transformed into a massive brutalist structure with copper accents, embossed on the facade in bold relief. Alter TerraCore. We circled the building. The next shot revealed another angle, panoramic windows and a glass dome housing a giant metal sphere entwined with pulsating, fluid-filled tubes. Workstations lined the lab perimeter, crowded with test tubes containing substances ranging from crimson to toxic green. Pods with, no, definitely not plants. Something root-like, yet they twitched like living things. About 20 figures in white coats moved inside. Some hunched over microscopes, others carried flasks of colorful liquids. It all looked like a normal lab except for one detail. Each was flawless, as if airbrushed for a magazine. Symmetrical features, movements too precise. A woman adjusting her glasses did so with that rehearsed grace of a pianist performing a complex piece for the 100th time. Looks like Vogue's science department, Mike quipped with a grin, zooming in on a man measuring a substance's pH level. The man turned. For a split second I swore he saw us, but immediately returned to work as if we were just part of the lab's background. Soils? I pointed at the special soils depository sign on the far wall. Mike, get more shots. We'll analyze them later. Mike took a series of photos and a short video. When I looked up from the screen, only the abandoned wasteland remained. A plastic bag tumbled across the dirt, snagging on dead branches. Christ! Dan slowly scanned the desolate lot. Now we know where they cook up their special soils. Dan's car pulled into the parking lot in front of Revo Fitness Mandurah at the Mandurah Forum Shopping Centre. The modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows and purple and yellow signage looked harmless enough, just another gym with workout equipment visible through the glass. But we knew better now. Something very different lurked beneath that facade. "All right, hotshot photographer, work your magic." Dan clapped Mike on the shoulder as he adjusted his camera settings. Mike took aim. The building flickered on the camera's display. The image shifted, revealing a matte white structure with no windows, its red sign now reading Alter Bioenhancement Center. Bingo, Mike whistled. "We going in?" Inside appeared to be a normal gym, treadmills lining the walls, life fitness weight machines. A receptionist in black uniform with orange accents greeted us. "First workout's free." "Thanks, we're just looking around," I said. "Could you tell us about your membership options?" While Dan and I kept the receptionist talking, Mike slipped into the workout area to take photos. We reconvened at an outdoor table in Mandurah Forum's food court. 3 cappuccinos sat untouched as Mike connected his camera to a tablet. "Let's see what we've got," he muttered, pulling up the first shot. The image showed Revo Fitness's standard cardio zone, people jogging on treadmills, monitors flashing heart rates and calories burned. Mike swiped to the next photo. Same angle, but now the treadmills were replaced by metal platforms. Shirtless people were strapped to them, muscles spasming under electrical impulses. "Jesus," Dan grimaced, leaning back from the screen like it carried the plague. The third photo revealed the weight area. In reality, rows of life fitness machines where a guy with wrist wraps lifted dumbbells. The Alter version showed transparent cylinders filled with murky fluid, naked bodies floating inside. Their limbs were entwined with root-like tendrils pulsing with pinkish light. Mike opened the last photo. Where the normal world showed a wall of promotional posters for Wednesday yoga and protein shakes 20%, the Alter version displayed a holographic screen with the Alter Bioenhancement logo. Protocol A12 flashed prominently, followed by a list. Tissue regeneration active. Full DNA reset. 24H. Biomaterial source. Client. "Now the video," Mike said. The tablet screen showed the same advertisement wall flickering with holograms. A strange buzzing sound was audible, though in reality, pop music played from the speakers. "I wonder, is this voluntary, or some mandatory program in their world?" I asked. "Who knows?" Mike shrugged. "Let's check the warehouse footage." He played the video from the warehouse. We began noticing details we'd missed on site. "Look at those pipes, they go underground," I pointed out. A network of metal pipelines radiated from the Alter TerraCore building, disappearing beneath the surface. Certain sections had valves labeled Sector 7A, Drainage Node 3. Alongside the pipes ran cable trays with blinking blue indicators. One junction bore a maintenance tag, Service Due 05/2030. "What the hell are they pumping?" Dan gestured to pressure gauges reading 10 ATM. The next video showed an interior space. The camera captured an access hatch marked Zone 4B. Nearby sat a cart with transparent containers holding a thick, rust-colored liquid. In the background stood shelves of crates stamped with the Alter Group logo and labeled Special Soil Blend Number 4. One slightly open crate revealed strange granules that faintly glowed in the dark. "Sam, did you bring your dad's photo?" Mike pushed the tablet aside and pulled out his phone. I fished a slightly crumpled picture from my pocket. "Don't have one of just him, just this group shot. 3 years ago at Olivia's birthday, Jess took it." Mike aimed his phone camera at the photo. My face lit up with that familiar red frame and a floating number 2. Might as well be a target. Above Susan, frozen mid-ocean with a wineglass, a yellow question mark blinked. Over Dad's smiling face, a green exclamation point flared, bright as a traffic light at rush hour. Olivia's image stayed blank. "Well, well," Dan leaned in. "A green exclamation point? That some VIP tier, or are you just their beta tester, Sam?" I jabbed at Susan's image. So she's in the queue for a card. So looks like it. Dan scratched his chin. When I got mine, Susan was in town. I told her about it. Should call her. If anyone can untangle this mess, it's her. Mike snorted, squinting at the screen. Okay, geniuses, how do we crack this? Red means stop, yellow means wait, green means go? So your old man's basically a top-tier VIP in their system? Wonder if he even knows he's got the all-access pass. The warm evening air hummed with birdsong. I stood by the familiar fenced pond just steps from home, watching Zara methodically patrol her territory, her evening route as predictable as Mandurah's bus schedule. White ibises ruled the water, teal ducks milled about the reeds, and some small birds, whose names I never bothered to learn, rustled in the bushes. I pulled out my phone. Hey Sue, how's things? You got a minute? Sam, all good here, you? My sister's voice was bright. I stepped away from the noisy birds. So here's the thing. I laid it all out. The Alter building glitches, the weird photo tags, that green exclamation mark hovering over Dad. The line crackled with the familiar scratch of pen on paper, Susan taking notes. When she finally spoke, her voice had shifted into that clinical researcher tone. A yellow question mark over me. Fascinating. Listen, I've got term break. I'll come Wednesday. Need to see that newspaper myself. The Mandurah Times, right? Yep. Right. See you then, brother. I pocketed the phone. Zara barked at sudden commotion on the pond. The ducks were making a racket, bidding farewell to the sunset.